I am not a medical professional. No surprise there. And no part of this video should be considered as advice or being even remotely factually accurate. All viewers interested in improving their health should seek professional advice from qualified healthcare professionals and completely ignore everything I say. That's probably a good general rule about a lot of my videos. The advice in this video should not be followed. This advice is given by an idiot. If you complain about it, you are an idiot. If you follow any of it, you're an even bigger idiot. You have been warned. One of the very common side effects of being a hardcore gamer is the toll that it takes on your body. The almost Olympian regime of all-day and all-night gaming, combined with delivery pizza, lack of daylight, and the almost complete and total lack of physical activity, has been known to result in many video game enthusiasts like myself becoming very slightly chubby. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I am a video game fatty. My body may well be a temple, but right now it's a temple worshipping the gods of bacon, gravy, and vitamin D deficiency. After many years of hardcore gaming, self-abuse and delivery food, it's fair to say that I am expanding and spreading outwards with almost the same predictability and inevitability as China's pernicious influence over the Western video game industry. Over the years, my cosplay options for Comic-Con have gradually diminished and dwindled to the point where my only realistic choices for a cosplay outfit are the Shadow King or Jabba the Hutt. Unless, of course, anyone is interested in seeing me turn up as a Division agent on a mobility scooter. Every year I see these virtue signalling social media fucks posting on Twitter about their New Year's resolutions to lose a few pounds and get fit. But I don't ever see them offering any kind of useful advice for the rest of us normal people. They also bang on about spreading positivity and supporting the community, and I don't ever see them contributing fuck all to those lofty goals either. Personally, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool realist, so I normally confine my New Year's resolutions to things that are pragmatic and achievable. My list this year includes such aspirational goals as always lick your plate, don't learn another language, be slightly rude and impatient on the telephone, don't wash every day, moan about stuff. But if you, like so many people, have once again copy and pasted last year's New Year's resolutions into your diary for 2020 and Get Fit happens to be on the list for the 5th or 6th year in a row, then I might be able to help you, because for once I am going to stand in solidarity with my fellow gamers and try and reluctantly get in shape in 2020. You see, people are always saying that when it comes to getting fit and dieting, there's no magic bullet, shortcuts or quick fixes. The consensus amongst healthcare professionals, sports scientists and physical trainers is that there is no miracle solution. There is no way to get fit that doesn't involve self-discipline, hard work and effort. Well, fuck that. I know some people might claim that being overweight and unfit does not qualify me as an expert on the subject of health and fitness, in the same way that someone who has been shot is not an expert on ballistic trauma and cavitation effects. But hear me out. Being shot might not technically make you an expert on gunshot wounds. However, being shot once will result in you knowing more than someone who hasn't been shot at all. Being shot twice will result in you knowing more than someone shot only once. So, theoretically, logic would dictate if you keep shooting someone, eventually they're going to become an expert on gunshot wounds. You just got to shoot them enough. Following this same foolproof logic, I am very, very fat indeed. I'm incredibly unfit, which in its own logical way makes me practically an authority on the subject. You see, normal bookworm professionals are for want of a better word, fucking idiots. That's a scientific fact that I just wrote. Professionals are always dismissing ambitious yet slightly unrealistic suggestions, and all they offer in its place are boring dogma, usually boring and hard work. As an expert on laziness, undisciplined low-effort living, I think I have the very particular set of skills that might help prove them wrong, and in the process help both me and my fellow out-of-shape gamers along the path of physical well-being. So here is 21 Kilotons Guide for gamers to get more fitter and less fatter and shape up for 2020 with the absolute least amount of work, commitment, effort, or for that matter, basic common sense. Before we get started, I should mention a few health and safety tips. It would be remiss of me to not at least offer a few safety tips for anyone trying to get fit as a New Year's resolution. Hopefully, my sage wisdom will help you avoid some mistakes without learning the hard way like I did. Don't join a gym until March. In January and February, gyms are completely overrun with fuckheads like us, high on enthusiasm but short on experience on how to use gym equipment safely. You pose a safety threat to yourself and everyone around you. Public gymnasiums literally become accident hotspots until about March, when 99% of gym members have already said fuck this and headed off to the chip shop. Usually not cancelling their subscriptions until about November. In the first few months of the year, the gyms of the Western Hemisphere are echoing with such immortal lines of stupidity as these. I've never used this machine before, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. 120 kilograms is French for 120 ounces, right? What happens if I lie down here and pull these pins out? Gyms are fucking death traps at the start of the year. Make sure you are neither the victim nor the perpetrator. Give it a few months for the Darwin Award candidates to give it their best shot. Then creep in later when it's safe. I would also strongly advise New Year's resolutioners to avoid taking up cycling to get fit. No part of being mangled under a fucking bus will help you become fitter. I mean, what could possibly go wrong with this plan? Trying to get fit by getting on a vehicle made out of metal pipe with only 2 wheels and no airbags, and then wobbling out in front of 3 lanes of impatient, frustrated, fast-moving, 1-tonner pop metal vehicles. Brilliant! Literally like a real-life version of Frogger, where you only get one life, and when you lose, the Frogger machine tilts over and smashes you into the ground. Repeatedly. Personally, I would rather catch a bus than have one lifted off my crushed fucking legs with a pneumatic jack. Shit can the bike. Bicycles are for couriers, hippies, and witches. Obviously, a major concern for anyone transitioning from an unhealthy to a healthy lifestyle is the possible risk of cardiac arrest. And in fact, if you follow all of my advice, I would go as far as to say that your chances of surviving without having at least one major life-threatening cardiac event is fairly fucking slim. There is, however, a simple, beautiful, practically foolproof method for almost guaranteeing you will be immune from the effects of cardiac arrest. Get a portable, automatic first aid defibrillator. And wear it all the time. Okay, here is my logic. They're automatic, right? You switch them on, stick on the electrodes, they measure your heart rate, and they only shock you if you're having a heart attack. They are literally designed to work automatically and without human intervention. So strap the fucker on and start exercising. If you conk out, it will automatically shock you, and you are fucking golden. Perhaps consider speaking to your local unlicensed body piercing parlour. They might actually be prepared to surgically implant the electrode pads under your skin. Just don't wear it in the shower, unless you want to short circuit half a city block. General principles of weight loss and fitness. Personal responsibility is for idiots. Why do it? It's much better to go to the doctors, convince them that it's a medical thing, and get him to prescribe you lots of fucking diet pills and speed and shit. Crush that shit up and put it in your slushy. Tell him you overeat because you've been traumatised or some shit. I mean, Zoe Quinn claims to have PTSD because of physical and mental abuse, and she was doing it to someone else. If you can come up with some bullshit like her, only where you are the actual victim, it should be a passport to unlimited supplies of happy tablets and diet pills. Sure, there are some minor side effects, but meth has side effects, and people take that shit all the fucking time. Metabolism also plays a major role in health and fitness. I, for one, suffer from a very common metabolic condition that makes it very hard for me to lose weight, and it's not my fault. Unlike other people, when I eat vast amounts of pies, beer, cereal bars, pizza, curry, fudge cake, pasties, onion rings, deep-fried Mars bars, Swiss rolls and gravy, my body reacts to that badly by turning me into a fat, lazy cunt, and as a result I can't be fucked to drag my arse down the gym. Many people are luckier than me with their genetics, and their metabolisms work differently. Some people's genetics mean they're naturally slim, fit and muscular, and as a result spend all their free time down the gym working out. As a consequence of that, they simply don't have enough time left in the day to eat the vast amounts of cake and gravy that I do. The moral of the story here is, it's not my fault that my genetics have resulted in me eating all the pies. Look, the only important thing you need to take away from this is that nothing is my fault. It's genetic. Fit people have it lucky. I'm the victim here. I'm a victim with a loyalty card for Dunkin' Donuts. But let's crack on with the advice. Avoid temptation. One of the big problems facing gamers like us when you're trying to lose weight is dealing with temptation. The modern world is littered with triggers and temptations to indulge in high-calorie, unhealthy food. There's half-eaten packets of Doritos under my desk. There's biscuits in my pockets. There's usually the smell of gravy on my chin. And sometimes there are crushed up M&Ms on my chair. Unhealthy food is literally everywhere these days. The simplest way to deal with temptation is obvious when you think about it. Eat it. The day before you go on a diet, eat every last scrap of unhealthy food you can find. Go through your cupboards, your fridge, your pockets, that place in the bathroom where you hide the chocolate rolls. If you live with other people, it's probably best to play it safe and go through their cupboards too. Seriously, go on a fucking snack jihad and scarf up every unhealthy bit of food in a 100-yard radius. Not only will this remove all sources of temptation, but will also serve as a really nice emotional send-off as you commit to your new life of healthy living. Or, until you fall off the wagon at least. And make sure to repeat this process every time you fall off the wagon, just to be safe. It might seem excessive, but think of it as being like a big send-off for your new journey of healthy living. Besides, it's just a bit like taking a run-up to a big jump. Everyone needs to take a few steps backwards before a run-up, right? Alcohol and smoking. First off, here is a hard truth that nobody wants to hear. But it's an unavoidable reality, so I'm sorry for being the person who's got to say it. If you're trying to get fit and lose those love handles, You absolutely must stop smoking and stop drinking alcohol when you're exercising. Yeah, I know that exercise machines have those little beer holders and ashtrays, but I would honestly advise people to exercise basic common sense and only binge drink and smoke during your cool-down session. I don't know about you, but my chances of staying on a running machine for more than 5 minutes without falling off is fairly low already. That chance drops to practically zero if I'm slipping on spilt beer and try to run whilst bending down to pick up the lighter I dropped whilst I fumbled it trying to light a fag. It's also worth noting that some of the more uptight and nerdy gyms get all bent out of shape if you spark up a smoke whilst exercising. This can prove very expensive if they throw you out and refuse to refund your gym subscription. Theoretically, you could possibly slip some gin and tonic into a protein shake bottle, but there's still a chance they might smell the booze on you whilst you're sleeping it off on the yoga mats. My honest, best advice is to do what the sensible, half-arsed fitness fanatics do. Finish your session at the gym, then head down the pub on the way home for a few Swifties. On the subject of alcohol, it's worth noting that it contains a lot of calories. The best way to reduce your calorific intake from alcohol is to get completely blitzed as fast as possible on the strongest liquor available. The sooner you pass out, the sooner you stop ingesting alcoholic beverages. So consider trading in that night out at the pub or wine with a meal for just slamming half a bottle of tequila in one giant glug. It's cheaper, less calories, and providing you get into the recovery position before you pass out, possibly not that dangerous. Sometimes. Electrocution. Ever seen one of those infomercials for those electrical muscle stimulators? Well, everything you see in infomercials must be true, or they wouldn't say it in infomercials, right? Well, these electrified pads just slap on your body and give you like an instant six-pack whilst you sleep without any conscious effort by giving your muscles lots of little electric shocks. They definitely work because all the people on the infomercials are really slim and fit. My logic is this. We sleep between 12 and 14 hours a day. Turn sleepy time into exercise time. If you have the budget, get 10 or 12 of these electro-pad kits and slap them all over your body. Crank them up to max and sleep with them on all night. Fuck, if you can manage to walk around without flinching and spasming too much, theoretically you could keep them on all the time. They are most likely perfectly safe. My only tip would be to take them off if you smell burning hair or see smoke. Which incidentally reminds me, it's probably a good idea if you don't place the electrode pads on your genitals. Unless you're into that kind of thing. I'm not judging. There's no shame in it. I'm speaking purely from a fire safety perspective. Emigrate to a third world shithole. Have you ever seen little starving kids in a refugee camp make any of the following statements? I think I'm gluten intolerant. I won't eat that. I'm vegan. I'll wait until they deliver the diet version. No, you haven't. They eat whatever the fuck drops off the back of that Red Cross van and ask for seconds. Christ, if one of the Red Cross workers falls off the back of that truck, he's lucky if he doesn't get fucking eaten as well. The only reason they started using foil packaging instead of paper wrapping was to stop the poor starving fucks from eating the wrappers too. If you have trouble limiting your intake of calories, how about letting inequality, regional conflict, corruption, and the inequalities of globalization do it for you? Seriously, make end-stage capitalism work for your benefit just this once. I guarantee you will come home a few stone lighter and a hell of a lot fitter. Trying to get to the food drops before the local warlords will be the best exercise you could dream of. All this being said, if you don't like the idea of moving to the third world, another perfectly good option is getting a plane to mainland China, and when questioned by customs and immigration officials about your visit, just tell them one of the following 3 things. You came on a mission of world peace to support the Dalai Lama. You support democracy and human rights in Hong Kong. Or even worse, tell them you wanted to see the real Winnie the Pooh. For the record, the last one is possibly the biggest crime of sedition in the Chinese Republic. Mark my words, when you get released from the ideological correction facility, after 18 months of eating watered down gruel and having the shit beaten out of you for breakfast, you are going to be slimmer than the background extras from the movie Bridge on the River Kwai. Infect yourself with a parasite, like tapeworm. Millions of Japanese schoolgirls can't be wrong. Seriously, they do it all the time over there. I know it sounds disgusting, but think of it as like having a little friend inside you, looking out for your best interests 24 hours a day, growing up to 10 foot long, and looking like a fucking alien on the endoscope pics. Okay, I thought it'd be a much easier sell than that. Look, people have been doing it for decades, and it's big in Japan. Sure, it's got some minor side effects, like chronic debilitating damage to the digestive system. The eggs can spread to the brain, and there is a tinsy-wincy little chance of a slight case of dying. But you know, that's a small price to pay for being able to have your cake and eat it, and then eat someone else's cake, and still stay slim. Anyone interested in catching tapeworm just needs to eat plenty of sushi. Failing that, I'm sure a quick trip to the Golden Dragon in East London will sort you out a fucking treat. Get really addicted to loot boxes. This one is a no-brainer. If you get addicted to loot boxes and fully embrace these psychologically manipulative and abusive methods to entrap you in a cycle of spend, lose, all your money will be sucked out of the bank faster than you can say Federal Trade Commission inquiry. Nothing helps dieting better than financial poverty. Get addicted to loot boxes and before you know it, you will be forced to choose between spending your last few pennies on a potato or toilet paper. And no, you can't eat toilet paper. Even with ketchup, it tastes fucking horrible. Seriously, I've tried. You can't even chew the fucking stuff. Resistance training. They say that weight training, i.e. resistance training, is the single best exercise for getting fit and getting into shape. The pros are, it's time efficient, builds strength, burns calories. The cons are, it involves getting up. It's boring. I can't really be arsed. Clearly the negatives of resistance training outweigh the benefits. So, I took the basic concept to the 21Kilotons science lab to see if I could improve on it. You see, people have been doing it since the times of the ancient Greeks, so logic dictates it's an ancient method. Therefore, the principles of resistance training are old. And as anyone who works at the Apple Genius Bar will tell you, old things are shit and need to be immediately replaced with a newer, better model. So I came up with this alternative: extreme wrist weight placement. Did you know that you can buy £10 versions of wrist weights for just a few quid? If you want to do weight training without changing your schedule, just attach £10 wrist weights to your ankles, wrists and neck 24/7 and carry on as normal. Just microwaving a Pop-Tart is now magically transformed into a 25-kilogram workout. Some tasks are a little bit trickier with the weights attached. writing, going to the toilet, getting out of bed, breathing. But on the upside, every day is gym day when you have 50 pounds of iron filings strapped all over your body. Winners use drugs. Time and again, history has shown us that all the best and most successful athletes are completely chonged out of their fucking skulls on illegal performance-enhancing drugs. And who are we to argue with history? Follow the wisdom of the champions. Diet pills are one option. Why exercise to get fit and burn calories when you can just neck a fuck ton of stimulants, get that heart pounding and just sweat the weight off? Yeah, there are some potential side effects with abusing diet pills. Addiction, cardiac arrhythmia, panic attacks, vomiting, confusion, homicidal ideation, delirium, and sometimes a little bit of dying. But a lot of hardcore gamers have probably faced worse side effects from overdosing on energy drinks in the last 6 months. Personally, I believe in showing moderation and restraint whenever I indulge in excesses to a ridiculous degree, so I pitch for 50% of the lethal dose. There's no point overdoing it. Fat binders are also an excellent way to get into shape. At the risk of boring you guys with some science, chemistry and microbiology, fat binders work something like this. When you eat, you basically consume a mixture of fats, carbohydrates, proteins, water and ethanol. The fat binder contains orlistat. This is the saturated derivative of lipstatin, a potent natural inhibitor of pancreatic lipases, isolated from the bacterium Streptomyces toxotricini. This inhibits gastric and pancreatic lipases, the enzymes that break down triglycerides in the intestine. Triglycerides from the diet can't be hydrolyzed into absorbable free fatty acid and instead are excreted unchanged. The end result is, obviously, you shit yourself. Not even kidding, you shit your fucking pants regularly and unfucking controllably, and the only way to stop shitting yourself is to totally avoid any fatty foods. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? You cram food into the top end, gravity is relentlessly pulling it downwards, and all the undigested oils and fats are just passing on through you at the same time, like sump oil. Why the fuck do you think people put oil in engines in the first fucking place? To reduce friction. This is not in itself bad news, however, because they still work perfectly fine. Admittedly, not in the way that they say on the box. Fat binders work because people who take them are terrified of shitting in their pants. Eventually they form a learned association between eating food and incontinence and become terrified of fucking eating. Don't believe me? Go and read the research. It's basically the modern day equivalent of antabuse. If none of this sounds like your cup of tea and you fancy a less intense means of pharmacologically enhancing your fitness program, I guess you could always consider becoming a heroin addict. All the junky shoplifters in my street all look like fucking skeletons, and they run as fast as fuck when they get chased out of the shop for thieving boxes of Huggies and cans of Nourishment protein shake. Stress. Stress plays a very important role in health and fitness. Spiders, horror clowns, bees, heights, snakes, needles. Everyone has a phobia. Personally, mine is a blutophobia. Thankfully, however, I've adopted a very strict regimen to deal with my phobia of washing. I don't do it unless someone complains. Job done. But there is some genuine science behind what I'm saying. Constant and prolonged exposure to cripplingly high levels of debilitating stress causes weight loss and suppressed appetite. If you can identify the things that terrify you the most and introduce them into your everyday environment, you can literally scare the pounds away. Release some poisonous snakes inside your home, get your wife to dress up as a horror clown and jump out on you when you least expect it. Or you could live on the edge of a very high cliff. Work out what works best for you. Become a vegetarian. Capping your 5 a day is critical to your health. Well, here is an easy hack to help you stack up on those veggies. Cut out the complication and force yourself to be healthy. Become a vegetarian, and everything is one of your 5 a day. When you're a vegetarian, everything you eat is technically a vegetable. Therefore, every time you eat, you are capping your count towards your daily vegetable intake. Veggie pizza, 1 of your 5 a day. Chocolate, 1 of your 5 a day. Beer and vodka, veggie pasties, spray cheese, candy floss, curly whirlies, chips, Nutella. When you're vegetarian, everything you eat is a vegetable. Therefore, everything you eat is healthy. Vegetarians get a lot of shit, but when you appreciate the beauty of a vegetarian diet and appreciate the positive health benefits, you can see there is some sense in what they do. I'm not talking about the hand-knitted sweaters, the teepees or the incense, just the nutrition. I mean, they get to eat an unlimited amount of margarita pizza and chocolate chip ice cream and get healthier. So let's keep an open mind and refrain from being judgmental about them just because of their lifestyle choices. It's closed-minded and intolerant. But just don't become a vegan because they're a bunch of creepy fucks. Get a sex change. Well, here's a little special something for the gentleman. Become a woman. World champion cyclist Dr. Rachel McKinnon. World champion powerlifter Laurel Hubbard. 400-metre hurdle champion Cece Telfer. And winner of South Park Strongwoman event Heather Swanson. Most of these ladies had shit or non-existent sporting careers before becoming female. Now, miraculously, they are all overnight successes, world record breakers, and literally making the participation of biological females an irrelevance in women's sport. I don't claim to understand the science, and becoming female won't necessarily make you fitter. But fucking hell, there's a good chance that you can pick up any women's sport the next day and give all the ladies a proper fucking hiding. I'm not for a second claiming that having a sex change will make you actually be any fitter. But if, like me, you're an out-of-shape, wheezing fat fuck of a pudge, you can at least transition from being one of the most unfit men you know to being one of the most professionally successful athletic women you know. Personally, I fancy my chances as a female powerlifter, wrestler, or maybe even a fighter.
3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, maybe I'll give the boxing a fucking miss. Well, there you have it, dudes, dudettes, and the undecided. Some properly effective, albeit mildly life-threatening ways to get into shape, which are low effort, don't require much self-discipline, require even less hard work, and some of these techniques might not even prove fatal in the short term, possibly. Besides, I doubt anything I've said is any worse than some of the stupid advice people have already given you, or the shit people have been trying to sell you over the New Year period. At the very least, I guess my shit advice is free. I suppose there is the other alternative. Stop feeling pressured to look like Henry Cavill or Gal Gadot. Reduce your calorific intake to 80% of the daily recommended amount. And do some regular moderate exercise. But I don't know. Fuck that. All sounds too much like hard work to me. Oh, my pizza's here. But for now, good luck and happy hunting.